We don't have the end in mind. And there's this woman named Bronnie Ware. She wrote a book called Regrets of the Dying. So she was a palliative nurse. She worked in end-of-life care. And in that time, she obviously had lots of conversations with people who were on their deathbed, who were at the moment of dying. And in those conversations, she started to notice a pattern, right? The same things, the regrets that they had in life, the things that they wish they would have done different. And this whole book is this book about all the regrets that people had. And I used to share what those regrets were, right? And then people were like, oh man, those are like such good regrets. And then I would be like, but they're not. And then people would be like, whoa, calm down there, jerk. Right? But like, here's the thing. Every single one of their regrets was avoidable. Like every single regret that these people had, that they're laying on their bed, it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have like not worked so hard. It's like, cool, you could have not worked so hard. Like you had a choice there. Like you could have avoided this, or I wish I would have like not like gotten in a fight with my family and stopped talking to them. Like you could have gone back and talked to them. Like this was a very avoidable thing, right? We all know that death is coming. Like, no one's surprised that people die. Sometimes we're surprised how quickly people die. But like every person dies. Right? And so the only way we would have these regrets, the only way we'd have this issue is if we forget to keep that end in mind. Right? If we become trapped and weary in the day-to-day of life, we get caught up in the busyness of life, and we forget our end purpose. Right? And this is what distinguishes us from the saints. Right? Because when you look at what the saints said on their deathbed, it's so different than what all of these people said to Bronnie on their deathbed, right? You look at Joan of Arc, right, who's on a stake getting burned to death, and her last word was just Jesus. Right? Her whole life was ordered towards that moment, towards meeting Jesus. And with her last dying breath, she says, Jesus. Or St. Dominic. Right? He died muttering, thanks be to God. Right? Not living in regret, but thanking the Lord for the life that he'd lived, for all the Lord had done in his life. Right? So excited to return to him. St. Thomas More. Right? That's something that applies to us today as cancel culture sweeps through. Right? Where it gets more and more dangerous to share our faith vocally. Right? St. Thomas More said, I die the king's good servant, but God's first. Right? He has no regrets with how he lived his life because he lived his life with integrity. Right? With his eyes fixed on of like what matters more. Is it being right with the king or is it being right with God? And what am I going to sacrifice for that? Or Thomas Becket, who lived at the same time, right? He said, I am ready to embrace death. Right? What a stark contrast to our world, which teaches us, no, remain young as long as you can. Right? Reject, like, don't think about death. That's terrible. That's sad. That's awful, right? And he's like, no, I'm embracing death because I know what awaits me on the other side. Or Aloysius Gonzaga, he wrote to his mother a week before he died. He said, our parting will not be long. We will see each other again in heaven.